All right, so in this lesson, we are going to talk about another type of form called standard form. And we're going to talk about how to take an equation from standard form and to switch it to slope-intercept form. But we're going to call this lesson isolating y because the entire concept is to get it back into y equals mx plus b form, and that's going to be called isolating y because you want y to ultimately be by itself. And that's going to make more sense when you see what standard form is. So let's go ahead and get started. So some equations are written in what's called standard form. Now, standard form is another way to write an equation, but here's the problem with standard form. You are not able to determine right off the bat what the slope and the y-intercept is. So you can't just automatically look at the standard form and graph it or, in your mind visually determine what the graph would look like. So what we need to learn how to do is change from standard form to slope-intercept form. And that's what this lesson is going to teach you how to do. And we're going to use our knowledge of equations in order to do that. So standard form looks like this. AX plus BY equals C. Now the A, the B, and the C are just integers. Now, you've got to read what's in green here. There are a lot of rules for standard form, which we're not going to go into this year. So for example, there's a lot of rules for A, for B, and for C, what they can be, what they can't be, and on and on and on. You're going to learn more about those next year. I just want you to be familiar with what they look like. What we're going to be focused on this year is I'm going to give you an equation in standard form, and you're going to change it to slope-intercept form. And that's really what I'm focused on, okay? So what are the rules for how to do that? Well, step one is we are going to identify the y in the problem, okay? So right here we have 9x plus 18y equals 72. So here is our y, okay? And we're going to, so we identified it. Now we're going to add or subtract, depending on the inverse operation, any additional terms to the other side of the equal sign. So if you remember, we did this with multi-step equations. So over here, I have this 9x that's attached to the y term, okay? I need to get rid of it. I want to move it to the other side because remember, the whole point is I want y ultimately by itself. So I'm going to do minus 9x because this is a positive, so I need to get rid of it. So this is going to cancel. But whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. So here, I'm also going to do minus 9x. Now, here's where things get a little different from what you're used to. What do you have left on this side of the equal sign? Well, you have 18y, so bring that down. You have your equal sign, so bring that down. Now, what you're used to is that this minus 9x would combine with another 9 or another x term from over here, but you're not going to have that. He's not going to be able to combine with anyone. He's on his own. So he's just going to shuffle in to this side. Now remember, the whole point is we're trying to get him into y equals mx plus b form. So we want him to shuffle in towards the front. And as long as we're keeping our signs perfect, okay, so remember, keep the negative sign with that, we can shuffle him in. So minus 9x, and then the 72 is positive, so plus 72. And I know that that looks really confusing, that whole step one, but with practice, it's going to go very quick, okay? Now, step two is a lot easier. Step two is only if necessary. So if necessary, remember, we are still trying to get that y by itself. Divide the coefficient, okay, attached to the y. You're dividing this coefficient across every term in the problem. So this 18, I need to get rid of it because I need y by itself, okay, because it's y equals mx plus b. I need the y by itself. So I'm going to divide by whatever's attached to the y. In this case, it's 18. So I'm going to divide by 18 on this term, and on this term. I'm going to divide across every single term, okay? Now, once I do that, I'm going to get my answer, and I just need to double check and make sure that it's in y equals mx plus b form. So 18 divided by 18 cancels, and I'm left with y. Negative 9 over 18 is negative 1/2, and I keep my x. And then 72 over 18 is 4. And this right here is my answer. And it sounded like a lot, but it was really just a couple of steps. So let's take a look at this first problem here. All right, so remember, identify my y, all right? What is my term that's attached to it? This 5x, it's positive, so I'm going to do minus 5x and minus 5x on the other side of the equal sign, okay? This is going to cancel. Bring down my 2y, bring down my equals. Remember, these don't combine. I just need to put them in order. Minus 5x, the 20 is positive, so plus 20, okay? Now remember, I still need my y by itself, and it has a coefficient in front of it. So divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. This cancels. Y equals negative 5 over 2x, because that can't simplify anymore, plus 20 over 2 is 10. That's my answer. And like I said, it goes much quicker once you practice. Now up here, I want you to go ahead and identify the m and the b. So what is your slope now? Well, your slope is negative 5 over 2, and your y-intercept is 10. Okay? Next one. All right. Start off by finding where your y is. What is your term attached to it? Now I have negative 9x. So I'm going to add 9x to both sides. Okay. This is going to cancel. Okay. Negative 9x plus 9x goes away. Bring down my 6y. Bring down my equals. Bring down my positive 9x. Bring down my positive 18. Now the reason why I bring down that 9x first is because the whole point is I'm trying to get it into y equals mx plus b, and I need that x to be first, okay? Now I need that y by itself, so I'm going to divide by 6, but I'm dividing everything by 6. This is going to cancel. Y equals 9 over 6 is going to simplify into 3 over 2x, plus 18 over 6 is 3. And that's my final answer. My slope is 3 over 2, and my y-intercept is 3. And you can take this now and graph it and do a bunch of stuff with it. Okay, now here's one that looks just a little bit different, okay? So my y is already by itself. Well, let me rephrase that, sorry. My y is not by itself, okay? It is not by itself. It's not on one side of the equal sign. It just doesn't have a coefficient. I need everything else on the other side of the equal sign. So I can determine what to tackle first. So what terms are attached to it, okay? You can take them in any order that you want from here. So I'm just going to do plus 23, plus 23, okay? Minus 23 and plus 23 cancel. So let me rewrite from here. 3x plus y equals, and 0 plus 23 is 23. Okay, I still need my y by itself. So I have positive 3x. I'm going to do minus 3x on both sides. Positive 3x and negative 3x cancel. Y equals negative 3x plus 23. And that's it, because I have my y equals. Now in this situation, I did not need to divide by anything because there was no coefficient in front of the y. So my slope is -3 and my y-intercept is 23. All right, let's take a look at this one. So here's my y. What terms are attached to it? I have a positive 3x, so I'm going to do minus 3x, minus 3x. This looks a lot like the last problem, actually. All right, so these are going to cancel. Y equals negative 3x and then plus 23. Oh, that was a lot like the last problem. Just looks a little bit different. The 23 was already there for us. So our slope is -3 and our y-intercept is 23. All right, next one. So here's our y. What terms are attached to it? So I have a 14x. So I'm going to do minus 14x on both sides. Positive 14x and minus 14x cancel. So I have 7y, bring down my equals, bring down my minus 14x or negative 14x plus 2 because it's a positive 2. Now, I still have something attached to the y, and the whole point is to isolate the y. So I'm going to divide everything by 7. 7 over 7 cancels, so I have y equals negative 14 over 7 is negative 2x, and then 2 over 7 stays 2 over 7, because that cannot simplify anymore. So my slope is negative 2, and my y-intercept is 2 over 7. All right, so here is my y. What terms are attached to that? So I have 6x. So I'm going to do minus 6x on both sides. 6x minus 6x, we're going to cancel. So I have 2y equals, so a minus 6x, and then I have plus 4. Now I still have something attached to the y here. I have a 2, so I'm going to divide this by 2, divide this by 2, and divide that by 2. 2 over 2 is going to cancel, so I have y equals negative 6 over 2 is negative 3x, and 4 over 2 is positive 2. So my slope is negative 3, and my y-intercept is 2. All right, you go ahead and try these two. All right, go ahead and pause the video if you're not done. So for this one, you should have gotten y equals negative 2x plus 4. So your slope is negative 2, your y-intercept is 4. And for this one, you should have gotten y equals 2x minus 7. So your slope is 2 and your y-intercept is 7. All right, that is it for this lesson, but we're going to use this a lot in class going forward, so stay tuned.